Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Wrestlers Talk Rehab. At least I'll say we are on that show, but tonight I think we might be on the Nina Samuels show.
Yes, you are. This is my show now. You're my guest.
Alright Nina, just to get you a bit through what's going on with this series. In this series we are looking to give the fans a peek behind the curtain to up-and-coming wrestlers to see what they might deal with if they suffer an injury. We're gonna talk a bit about your experience as a wrestler and how did you deal with the previous injuries that you suffered.
So I've had a share of a few. I think probably my worst ones was I had a dislocated shoulder, a broken foot, and a concussion. I'd say they were probably my three worst ones. Concussion was totally different because a lot of the way that I dealt with some of my other injuries was getting myself to physio. I look at like my body as like a car, and that's like my MOT, and I need to get it serviced. Physio is always what I do, and I always like my students as well. I suggest to go to a physio because they're going to tell you what to steer clear of, what to actively do. But a big thing for me mentally is actually, as well as the rehab for the injury part, focusing on things that I can do. When I broke my foot, I'd be in the gym with my boot on, still doing pull-ups, still doing anything like that, and just steadily working out what I could do. And then I go in a pool and start walking in the pool with a bit of weight off. I was getting used to my foot moving. Exactly, like when I hurt my shoulder, I'd go to a spin class and just not do any of the out of the saddle stuff, just do it in the saddle.
So keep working hard.
Exactly, like a bunch of core stuff, just focusing on what I can do. Because then when I focus on what I can do, every time my body is healing, I'm steadily adding in more bits of, I can do this today. And I think that helps mentally as well, because again, we're focusing on good things.
What would you say is an underrated thing about being injured as a wrestler that the fans don't see?
Actually, the first time that when I broke my foot, I ended up doing a lot of commentary work, which at that time I'd never done before. So that was really interesting, because it was like another skill to learn, but also it meant I was watching matches differently because I'm talking through the wrestler's psychology as I go. So I found it allowed me to take a step back. Because sometimes I think in wrestling we're so zoned in on the small details, and it meant I could actually zoom out, actually look at a match, think what works, what doesn't work, why is it working, and then now commentary something that I'll do fairly often, and I actually love it and I really enjoy doing it. It helped me find a new skill. Same with when I had a concussion, I did a couple of shows ring announcing, again, a bit like
Kept
that.
yourself involved in the...
Exactly, and I get some people find it that hard, some people find they have to take themselves away, but for me I found that really helped because I still felt involved socially, I still felt a part of it, and it actually helped me as a wrestler. Doing commentary has helped me so much as a wrestler because I understand what the commentators are talking about, I understand what time they need to breathe, to explain things and stuff like that. I understand what I should tell them so that they can make my story come across better. That was like a huge game changer for me. And I hate to say a blessing of an injury because injury is horrible, but I would say that was a blessing. That was a blessing.
What piece of advice would you give to Nina Samuels injured now with the mentality that you have at the moment?
Oh, do you know, I'm actually very happy with how I dealt with it. One big thing I would say is once a body part gets injured, it needs constant nurturing. Because that's one thing I found. Sometimes I found when I've slacked off my shoulder rehab after that dislocated, that's when I would find it would start getting weak again. I would say just don't get complacent after you've recovered from an injury. Like that body part has a weakness, accept it, and constantly work on that. When some people ask me what you do for your shoulders, I say get a dislocated shoulder because it means I do so much shoulder work because I'm constantly doing that shoulder rehab. I just say don't get complacent. Once you feel like you've recovered, that work doesn't stop. Like you need to accept that's an Achilles heel, that needs extra activation before you do matches, that needs extra warm-up, that needs extra stretching. That'd be a bit of advice I would say.
You mentioned the mental health aspect a bit earlier. Let's dive a bit into that. What kept you so motivated? Because even now I can see that you don't, most wrestlers, they talk with a bit sour about their time when they're injured, and I see that you are very happy to talk about it and share this information with people. What helped you keep that mental state, mental health?
I think having something else to focus on. I think mentally the hardest one was definitely the concussion because it was something foreign to me. because something else is physical, it's local, I know what's going on, whereas with my head, that was a lot harder. And I had genuine feelings that I might not be able to come back, because such basic movements, like even 3 weeks after the concussion, I just tilted my head back to put my hair up, and it was like things were moving around in my head. That was definitely the hardest one. I think again, steadily focusing on what I could do, because I initially took bad advice from my doctor, but I think doctors don't know enough about concussions, so they just told me to keep resting. And I eventually discovered from more research and speaking to specialists that that was actually making me worse, because my brain was just going into a vegetative state. Then once I realised I need to start doing things again, it was figuring out what I could do to make me better. So I'd exercise where I could, but keeping my head steady. So I'd go on resistance machines where my head wasn't going to move, just so I could get used to pumping the blood back to my muscles, and instantly I started feeling healthier, because I felt better and happier, because before it was just frustration and confusion, not knowing what to do. But again, that comes down to the same as what I said before, focusing on what you can do and just zoning in on that, because the more you focus on what you can do, the more you're turning it into a positive, rather than focusing on what you can't. And I think mental is such a big side of it. The more positive you can try to stay, which I know is easier said than done, but the more positives you can finding ways to actively help out, even like at a local school or whatever. Like one of our students who's out with an injury at the minute, he comes down to the school just to stand around and help out, pitch in as an extra pair of eyes if he spots something that he can help someone out with, and then it's his way of positively giving back while he can't physically do things himself. And I think one of our other students has learned all the tech side of things. Now our student shows he's doing the sound, doing the light. Now he can appreciate it in a different way as well, and watch it from a different seat. If you feel healthy enough to do so, find something that you can get involved with to learn another skill, another way that you can contribute.
Alright, and the last question for today. Have you got a random tip or something that you discovered throughout the recovery process that you'd like to share to people from home?
Oh, random tip. Taking a ball. I take a ball with me to shows, roll at my feet, because a lot of stuff comes from the feet. I squeeze my foam roller. I've got a collapsible foam roller. I take that with me to shows. Just looking after myself in between shows. So in between shows, I've got an acupressure mat. I've got all the bells and whistles. So look after yourself in between shows as well. Get massages if you can, or even if you can't afford to get massages as much as possible. Invest in a foam roller, invest in an acupressure mat, look after your body in between shows.
Amazing. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
And for you at home, if you want to see more interviews like this one, make sure you press the follow button. Like this video. This is Nina Samuels. I'm Big John, and I'll see you next time.